So even though Ryukei's plays look dumbfounding to us seasoned community members, people from the outside are probably just as captivated by your plays. You may be a 5 or 6 digit and not consider yourself good, but it's all about perspective. After writing this portion of the Ryukei video, I felt like I didn't describe this idea thoroughly enough. I heavily revised it during production, so the video wouldn't be 2 minutes featuring Ryukei, and 6 minutes of me talking about something completely unrelated. I felt like that would have been unbalanced, and ultimately unfair for the player featured. However, today I want to concentrate on that message and how important it is. The concept of perspective is being able to accurately assess a situation and your position within it. Sometimes that situation does not include you at all, such as a Twitter or Discord conversation that does not involve you. In other instances, you are directly participating. While talking, you need to decide how to phrase things, how to respond to others, and maintain your position in the discussion. Well, that, specifically, is basic social and emotional intelligence, but perspective enters the equation when you articulate something. Let's provide a common example. People posting scores in a text channel in a Discord server. Some players are inevitably going to be better than others simply because they have dedicated more time to improving. A lower ranked player in the channel might feel discouraged or demotivated to post their scores because of the presence of a better player. Depending on their perspective of the situation, they can react in multiple different ways. They can either deprecate themselves because they can never compare to the better player, which is a very narrow perspective. They can post their score anyway because they don't care, which is an average perspective, and they can understand that they are good because of how they've practiced, which is a broad perspective. Self-deprecation, unfortunately, seems to be the most popular, and it represents that they, or whoever is saying these things, has a very narrow perspective. If they cannot compare to the better player at this very moment, even though the other player has most likely played and practiced a lot more, then they must be garbage! What other possible explanation could there be? In all seriousness, no. The better player, whether it's your friend or someone in the top echelon, reached the top because they played, and failed, and played, and failed, and played, and got an FC. This narrow perspective means that you cannot see all of that practice and simply believe that they are magically better, or somehow improved faster than you did. Chances are you're rapidly improving as well, but you can't see it because you're not performing at your peak every minute you're playing. Being apathetic and just posting the score anyway is what I would consider an average perspective. You don't compare yourself to other players, you simply want others to see your score. And while this is a massive improvement from the level before, we can actually pull back even farther. In this simulation, if we could metaphorically pull back the perspective out as far as possible for our protagonist, then they would understand how the better player reached their current position, whether it was through practicing certain maps or concentrating on certain skills. However, this does not invalidate our protagonist's own playtime or progress, they're simply on an earlier step. They're still a good player and should be respected for what they've already achieved. Being able to understand this gives the protagonist respect for the better player while feeling secure about their own skills. It's a win-win scenario for both players, who are more likely to share their scores with each other. Now, there are an infinite number of possibilities in between the three perspectives I just described, with maturity usually influencing where someone lands. Maturity typically comes with age, so more often than not, younger community members tend to fall on the narrower end of the spectrum, while older or more seasoned community members fall on the other end. This is not a rule, and there are many exceptions. It's a generalization. Returning to that situation from earlier, I want to mention how having that narrow perspective can heavily limit players' positive attitudes. I've explained in previous videos about how possessing a terrible attitude can thwart improvement and devastate mental health, so I'm not going to repeat that here. The purpose of this video is identifying the initial cause and beginnings of that and trying to prevent it. A poor perspective can be born when your expectations are placed way too high and can only be reached at your peak performance. believing you should be able to play at that considerably higher level consistently when you honestly are not there is a strategy bound to backfire and will only worsen as time progresses. Another way it can be born is by focusing on performance too much and falsely believing that it is the only metric used to measure skill. Finally, simply caring about the game too much can limit your perspective of how the game truly impacts your life and how trivial in-game issues actually are. Once you possess that close, selfish perspective of yourself, you are more likely to disregard your position relative to other community members, lash out when you are not performing well, and dedicate too much time into arguments or issues that are not important. Additionally, you might sound insensitive or irritable in conversations with different people. Over time, this poor attitude and limited perspective compound on themselves, creating a terrible situation to try and salvage. Well, why aren't you meeting those expectations? Because in most instances, you fail to realize that you are playing maps that are significantly harder than what's in your comfort zone and are expecting to perform equally, if not better, on those challenging maps. Those maps are harder for a reason, and chances are you're playing much better than you could have in the past. Unfortunately, because of your narrow perspective, you are unable to witness this and believe you are not improving, when in fact you are improving rapidly. I'm not immune to this either. I want to be the best at what I do, whether it be content creation, playing the game, mapping, writing, whatever you can think of. I define my playing comfort zone at the low 6-star level, meaning I can comfortably FC most maps within that threshold at will. My double time comfort zone is slightly lower because I'm still practicing aim agility and faster tapping. I frequently push myself outside of my comfort zone with both mods, and sometimes feel disappointed on vastly harder maps when I cannot achieve 99% accuracy or a certain combo that I easily could within my comfort zone. In those moments, I fail to realize that I'm playing low to high 7-star maps, sometimes even 8 stars, nearly 2 stars above my comfort zone. These maps are ridiculously difficult, and there's no possible way I could perform consistently on them like I could on lower 6-star maps. Instead of becoming frustrated at myself and tilting, I try to take a deep breath and analyze what I'm playing. That short break of calming down really helps reset my attitude for the session and can usually salvage what could have been a ruined experience. Sticking to the comfort zone analogy, sometimes people complain about not being able to play things that they really should be capable of. Returning to my personal example, that would be low 6-star maps that are not incredibly fast at around 190 BPM. I'm sorry to say that I have no convincing explanation for why that happens. Sometimes you log on and have a bad session, or even a bad week or month. However, the more you complain about it, the longer this quote, bad period will last. In that situation, concentrating on your goals, like improving in a certain skill set or aiming for a certain performance threshold, is a healthier way to address the problem. I'll be honest, there have been times when I've entered the game excited to play and set some scores, and then my arms are like, nah. It doesn't matter how much I try and warm up or play on those days, I won't be able to play consistently. Those days become less and less frequent as you improve, but it still happens to the best of us. Instead of whining about it, I convince myself to do something else. That can be a multitude of things. Perhaps I feel like mapping instead, or closing OS entirely and playing one of the many Steam games I bought when Gaben emptied my wallet during the summer sale. Or, even better, leaving the computer and going to do something outside. It's probably been 6 months since any of us have done anything serious outside anyway. Focusing on performance points too much is an easy mental trap to fall into because your profile is displayed on the main menu, with the only way to hide it being skinning elements. When you constantly see this number that you can grow by playing certain maps and how it directly correlates to your rank, it can be easy to chase the ambition of reaching the highest rank possible no matter what it takes. There's nothing inherently wrong with that mindset, but it becomes problematic when you start losing appreciation for genuinely skilled plays that don't happen to be worth a lot of PP. High-performance plays are not the only aspects that define a player, and hyper-focusing on that element ignores some of the game's greatest plays. Pulling back the perspective here allows you to comprehend how dumbfounding some scores really are, and respect the skill required for them. I believe this can happen with any game, but caring about OS too much is really common, especially after ascending the ranks. You find success in playing, and start being rewarded in some fashion, in this case performance points. You feel like you are great at the game, you are, don't get me wrong, and want to continue playing. This cycle repeats itself until you care about the game too much, which shows by not wanting to play other games, spending time with friends online or in real life, or committing ridiculous hours into the game. I would say you stop gaining skill in a given play session after about 4 hours. You are usually exhausted after that point and will not be playing at your peak. Some people spend a lot more time than that when playing, which is almost concerning since you're not improving during that time. It is completely acceptable to slightly just let go of the game, to not have it occupy your thoughts and desires 24/7. Not pulling back your perspective in any of the ways I just mentioned, or taking the occasional deep breath or two can seriously harm your attitude while playing the game. I believe the best top-level example of this would be Shigetora. Even though I have elaborated my immense respect for his skills and dedication, he has practically talked himself into an abyss due to his narrow perspective. He is infamous for complaining in his stream chat for not performing up to his standards, calling certain extremely difficult maps farm, and generally not having a pleasant attitude about OS-related subjects. I understand he has injured his hands in the past, but you would think that would be a catalyst for pulling back his perspective and reducing his expectations slightly. To be more specific, when he was attempting Everything Will Freeze with Hidden Hard Rock, he called the map Farm and considered the first 1700 combo easy when he used the best score on the map by a decent margin. He called Furioso Melodia Farm when he possesses 2 of the 5 FCs on the map after years of top players periodically trying it, and in multiple instances has complained about getting 1/100 and being genuinely irritated about it. Like, Jesus Christ, man. 99% of us would be completely amazed if we could achieve that kind of accuracy and play at that level, even on your quote, bad days. You are one of the best players to ever play this game, arguably the best, and yet you treat yourself poorly and don't address your attitude. There can be positive reinforcement of accepting your skills in comparison to others, because you would not be at the top of over 250 leaderboards without a reason. Additionally, being able to understand that your quote worst is infinitely better than the vast majority of people who touch this game can be a humbling realization. However, that can easily get to your head, so be cautious about how much gratification you feel from it. The same concept can be applied to social media and content creation as well. Sometimes people feel strongly inclined to do things in order to grow their account to unseen new heights, while not appreciating the progress they've already made and feeling as though their content does not reach enough people. Using a personal example, I uploaded some non-OS videos. Please watch them, I worked very hard on them, and they did not garner much attention in comparison to my OS videos. However, 300 views of my content is 300 individual people who decided to watch it anyway, even if it wasn't OS. That's a lot of people, and considering each person spent an average of 4 minutes watching the video, that's a lot of time spent on something I created. Even though my OS videos garner considerably more attention than projects like this, I'm still honored to have people who will watch them anyway. Do I still wish these videos performed better? Of course I do. I worked very hard on them and hope people can enjoy the video as much as I enjoyed creating it. But it's wrong to complain about the people who do decide to watch your videos, even if the numbers don't align with your expectations or previous records. Complaining about not earning views or attention for something feels insensitive and completely out of touch with the people who actually did watch that content. Why should they continue watching what you produce if you're only going to complain about how many people see it? On the subject of content creation, I have an announcement to make. Since school will be starting shortly for me, I'll be taking a 1-week break and will not upload next Saturday. This is going to occur a few times during the school year due to me trying to balance school, potentially finding a job, and content creation. The videos on this channel are created solely by me. Other than thumbnails and constructive criticism on my scripts from my friends, everything is done by me. I've been debating this issue for a while now, and I want to exemplify the lesson in this video. If I had a narrow perspective, I would choose the Death Wish option and attempt to balance all three, and probably collapse from stress in November after intense burnout. I simply cannot do it all, and will not force myself to. At the end of the day, I want to focus on my academics, even if that unfortunately means posting less often, or having to take more breaks from uploading videos. I would attempt to hire an editor or find others to help, but I would not be able to pay them adequately. And the last thing I want to occur is unfairly compensating for someone's contributions. I hope you guys can understand my decision. Also, one more thing I would like to mention, no more midweek uploads. During the summer, I had the free time available to edit an additional video on top of my scheduled Saturday upload. Those videos usually showcased other games, with Fall Guys and Risk of Rain being 2 examples. Those videos actually take a similar amount of time to edit compared to my OS videos, and I will not have the time to create 2 10-minute videos in a week. That does not mean I will stop creating them, because I honestly really enjoy recording different games and compiling the best moments to showcase on YouTube. In the future, if I record a different game other than OS and edit the footage, that video will be my Saturday upload, which right now is reserved for exclusively OS. I also think this is an effective way to diversify my content over time. Thanks for watching, and see you on the 19th.